John Patterson, city manager for the city. What's your name?
Thank you all for being here. Appreciate your time this evening, especially a gorgeous evening. Thanks for coming in. Appreciate the fact that you love this community and have a passion to help contribute to its future. Because tonight, we're going to see a consolidation of all of the key objectives that have been defined by about 15 or 20 different groups. We're going to consolidate them tonight, throw them up there, and vet them amongst us. And so please, speak up, be heard. It's going to determine the future of the city of Casper. Thank you, council, and thank you, members of the public, citizens, for being here. I was mentioning to Paul Meyer, I think collectively in my 34 years in local government, doing strategic planning in most of the 6 cities that I've managed in the county, that I probably have never had collectively this many people in all the strategic planning meetings. So thank you. I mean, this is a thrill that you care. I mean, that you have an interest. So I appreciate it. And thank you, council, for assisting us in this effort of moving this along. If you'll recall, during our budget process almost a year ago, it began January of this year, I told you that we needed to do an abbreviated strategic planning process in order to receive some direction from you as to how to move forward for fiscal year 2013. And you did do that after a series of 4 meetings and it's about 15 hours of...
Okay, little bit of background, again, very, very quickly, and some of you, if you were at the sessions, heard this, but I want to repeat a little bit of it so you have a sense of what we're doing here. A number of weeks ago, John Patterson called Joe and I and asked if we would help him figure out what the community thinks strategically, what the long-term goals of the community are, as he said, looking 20 years out, as well as what goals and projects the community would like to see done in the more short term, a 5 to 7 year sort of framework. So he wanted to have us facilitate a series of focus groups in the community of key stakeholders. And we did that. We held, I think, 17 focus groups. I know 17 focus groups. Over the last month, essentially. Most of them were held in this very room. We had anywhere from 3 people to 22 people at each of those focus groups, although we had invited up to 40 people to each group. Those focus groups were thematically organized around various groups in the community, but people were asked to come to whichever one was most comfortable for either their schedule or for their interests, and so they were given opportunities to do that and provide that input. One of the big impetuses for this process was the recently completed CASPER citizen survey.
Steve, will you want to go she would love to, and then just turn it over when it does.
What we have. How will I know that?
Whatever.
Yeah. You know what? Just take that here. Nobody's sitting here.
It's okay. I've already been to some of these. I already know. I think other people really need to know what's going on more than what I do. I think I'm okay. Don't you think?
Yeah, I think you do.
I know it's difficult to talk more than talk more.
Yeah. How come they just don't move this in the big room?
I think I can get I get one more?
You guys better think about the fire marshal when you start packing them in here like this. Why don't you just move in the big room over there?
We have a fire chief right there.
Well, gee, that answers it, huh?
So any comments on community quality kind of stuff? The other thing that was important in community quality is the location. Can't do anything about that, but the central location of CASPER is seen as an asset. You're in the state of Wyoming. You're the largest community in this part of the state of Wyoming, and that makes you a regional hub for lots of things. And that'll show up a little bit later when we get to economic sustainability. But your central location draws people to the community for many, many things. The next area that we want to talk about is transportation. And I purposefully used dangerous bicyclists, right, in downhill. One of the things we heard more and more at every one one of these 17 sessions was that walkability throughout the community is needed. Yes, we have a great trail system. Yes, the Park River Platway is a lovely, lovely place to walk. The river is awesome, but you can't get there from here to there. You can't, the dots have not been connected in a safe and secure manner. It's difficult. In fact, we heard many times that it's impossible to ride a bicycle in Casper to get to and from places. You can go ride your bicycle, but if you're using it to commute to work or events, activities, it's very difficult because it's, I mean, by and large, Wyoming is not a walkable community. But that was an area that very clearly came up as an important thing, that it's not a safe place to ride or walk. There are a couple of really, really large natural, or not natural barriers, a couple of really big barriers. Wyoming Boulevard up at 2nd Street and CY.
We'll come back and spend another hour or so, as long as you want to, on the 11th of December. Question. Councilman Dobbin.
Thank you. You mentioned the way we've done this in the past, and before we get into, I guess, the meat of this, I would like to see just what council's feeling is about this council being the one to set this in stone for the next council for 2013 to 2017.
Right.
Because every time we've had a strategic plan in the 8 years I've been on council, that was done in March, April, and included newly elected. And this is a big departure from that, and I'm not frankly understanding why.
It's been formed, and we'll spend 4 or 5 months, and we'll present to you on May 1st a balanced budget. This strategic plan document will help us as staff develop that budget, because you are giving us direction on what you want to see accomplished in this next year. And it's really critical in that regard. It is a roadmap for the future and will provide that clarity. It's interesting, we're going to spend approximately $150 million next year, as we are in fiscal year 13. And how we spend that will largely be governed by this document, by what you tell us, by what the public has told us through this strategic planning process. And so it is a very important process that we go into now. Let me tell you what a strategic plan is not, and what you are not holding. You're not holding a blank check in your hands. This isn't even a funding document. That is through a budgetary process that, again, takes months and months.
What y'all came to hear. These are the top 5 projects. These are of those people. Again, this is not statistically relevant, but it speaks to these people who were invited, who cared enough to come. We invited 40, and in some cases we have 3. But these are the top 5 projects. Number 1 project, a convention center, and specifically a convention center downtown. Number 2 project, improve fiber connectivity to and within the city of Casper. Number 3 project, downtown redevelopment and revitalization efforts. Continue that. That's a good project. Keep going with that. Number 4, figure out how to make Casper a more walkable community. And there are many ways to do that, other than building more sidewalks. But how do you solve that walkability problem? Number 5 project, construct a civic auditorium. And again, the assumption is that it will be located downtown.